Let me show you some of the cool benefits of working with measures inside the DAX Sleuth. Now, while we can't author new measures inside the DAX Sleuth yet, and we don't actually have full IntelliSense for the formulas that are written in the DAX Sleuth yet either, I think there's still some pretty useful things here if you know your DAX relatively well. Now, one of the challenges if you go to your Power Pivot Measures and Manage Measures is if you're trying to review a bunch of formulas, you only have so much space here and you can't really read these things even if you can see all of it, if they're long measures and indented and whatnot. So you kind of have to pop into each one, take a look, pop back out, and working across measures is really painful. So I'm going to close this and we'll just show you that, working with the DAX Sleuth, it's a lot easier to very quickly hop back and forth between individual measures really quickly because you don't have to actually go and click edit, jump in, click close to jump out. So that's the first part of it that's pretty cool. The other thing you'll notice is that as you're working with this and you start looking at your formulas, you might realize that you've got a mistake here. Like draft sold, for example, here is pointed to canned beer, and that plainly can't be right. So I'm just going to go and modify this really quick. I'm going to select my draft instead of canned. We'll type that in for this category. And I'm just going to press update. And what you'll notice is it goes and writes it back from 5,694 units, which was plainly the wrong value. It's now recorrected this one here, pointing to the right column and filtering the right way based on what the formula is that I need. So a really quick way to go and change something up if I know that there is a problem inside the measure. And sometimes I can look at these things, I can see right away, oh, that's not where it's supposed to be. So we can actually fix it nice and quick. Now, another cool thing though, is that we also have the ability not only to update measures, but to duplicate measures. And again, if you think back to the fact that, let's say for example, I've got this burgers sold all-time measure. It's not super complex, but there's three components that go with a measure. What table are they stored on? What is the measure signature? And what is the measure format? Now, if I want to recreate this for draft sold, the classic Excel way is to go to Measures, Manage Measures. We're going to go find the measure in this list here. We're going to edit it, copy the formula. We're going to make a new measure. We're going to go and drop it in, make sure we put it on the same table. Oh, forgot what the format was, got to create it, then go back and make that consistent. And then when it's all done, I still have to go and add it to the pivot table because anything inside here doesn't get added to the pivot table automatically. So let me show you how much easier this is with DAX Sleuth. Now I could duplicate the measure and then once it's created, I could update the measure, or I could do this. I could go right to the measure signature and I could say, hey, instead of burgers sold measure, let's use draft sold. And I'm going to duplicate it. What it does, it takes the formula that's in the window, not the formula of the underlying measure itself. So now I can go and say, look, this is going to be my draft sold all time. We can say, okay. And what's happening here is it's writing it behind the scenes. It's going to store the measure on the same table as the burger sold measure. It takes the same format as what is defined in the burger sold measure. And by virtue of the fact that I had selected a cell in the pivot table, we actually check for that. And if you have selected a cell inside the pivot table, we automatically add it to that pivot. Obviously, if you selected a cell outside the pivot table, we don't know which pivot table it should go on, so we can't add it. This just saves you a little bit of time as you're creating things. Now, of course, it doesn't have the same formatting as this, but that's a pivot table thing, not a DAX thing per se. But what you can see now is my burgers sold is showing burgers here. Let me just bigify that a little bit. And my draft sold is showing my draft sold. So modify the formula first, duplicate it, give it a name, and boom, it adds it to the pivot table right away. Same formatting, same table structure, everything. That is a beautiful way to save yourself a little bit of time. So hopefully you'll find those little pieces inside the DAX Sleuth very useful as you're reviewing and maybe needing to duplicate some of the different DAX measures you run into. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.